Right, thank you for everybody for coming. Boker Tov. We're learning the month of Shvat, sponsored by the Silver family, Leilin Nishmas Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, by Sarah and Baruch Gold in memory of Tchia Shirel Shimona Bat Sarah and their Fur Shlema of Hadas Chava Yocheved Bat Sarah, by the Pollocks, by Joni and Moshe Pollock, Leilin Nishmas Shimon Ben Moshe, Tzvi Ben Mordechai, and Shira Rachma Bas Rev Alter Nassim Nata. By the Polsteins, Leilin Nishmas Frida Simon Bas Yitzchak, and by the Warshavskis as well. The week is sponsored by the O'Brien, Spaeth, and Nagel families, Leilu Nishmas, Moshe Yitzchak Ben Tzvi. Oh, wow. It's Zadie's Yortzeit. Yeah, this Shabbos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this Shabbos.
Oh, that's so special. I had the privilege of knowing him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of knowing him.
Yeah.
And Michael and Cindy Levy in honor of their grandson Idan Eisenstock's bar mitzvah this coming Shabbos. Okay.
That's right. I came to daven by you.
What's that?
He came to daven by you, and he would come for Shabbos
Yeah.
to Israel.
Yeah. Okay, so we have today something very, very special, which is going to be opening up the topic of what we're going to be learning from. Again, I'm traveling a lot now, so not next week, but the following week again from Likutei Moharan inside. But it's something very special that I've been wanting to do from the beginning, but I felt it was important for us to do what we did until now, and now go weiter from here. So, what an amazing thing it is to know what you're supposed to be doing in this world. No, it's like a beautiful moment when you, in life, when you have this. I don't know if you want to call it an epiphany, or you want to call it just a moment of bihirut hadat, of clarity of the mind. When you actually come to that space in life and say, okay, there are a lot of things that I enjoy doing. A lot of things I really enjoy doing. And then there's this nakuda of, but this is actually my whole inyan. This is my whole thing. This is the reason I'm here. This is the reason I'm here. And not every person's privileged to reach such a place that they reach. I mean, every person has the ability to find that out, to know when that happens, meaning to get to this place of, I know why I'm here. But when you read about people that could actually say that about themselves, it's very, very big. It's just a very big thing. One of the things that makes Rebbe Nachman so unique, Bruchim Habayim, welcome. One of the things that makes, I think, Rebbe Nachman more unique than most tzaddikim that we know of are his straight out, just loud statements that without context sound either blasphemous or definitely sound very gaivadik. And what we're going to be doing, continuing to do here, is to do whatever we can to go to what lies beneath certain statements that Rebbe Nachman said about himself, because the following. Rebbe Nachman knew what he was doing here. He knew what he was sent down here to this world to do. He knew this. Some have the tradition in Breslov of understanding that the whole relationship between a Talmud and the teachings of Likutei Moharan lead a person to this exact place where they could say that they know what they're here to do in this world. Not just that I could say, I'm doing some good things, or I'm just here to bring simcha to people. Everyone should feel like that's part of their chelik. But I'm talking about much more meduyak, much more exact. To be able to say, I know what I'm doing in this world. I know what it is I'm sent for. Sometimes we feel like that and then it changes after a while. And that's also true. But sometimes it never changes. Like sometimes that realization comes in and it never ever changes. I'm sure for mothers, I'm sure every mother feels, Be'ez Hashem, I was sent to this world to be an imah to these children, to be a wife to this person. But we're speaking about something over here by Rebbe Nachman that's very, very different. Because Rebbe Nachman has a very, very powerful statement, which is the first statement you have in top, Chayei Moharan Shin Zayin. Ani en li ma la'asot ba'ozeh ha'olam klal. I, from my own behalf, I have nothing to do with this world. I have nothing to do in this world, meaning mitzidi, mitzad my neshama. I don't have anything to do here. כי בשבילי איני צריך לעשות כלל, because for my own sake, I have nothing to do here. רק באתי לעולם לקרב נפשות ישראל להשם יתברך. My mere existence in this world is to bring souls closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so that's we can unpack this statement on many different levels. I want to give the text that we have today to offer an explanation to what a statement that is. Because the second half of the statement, maybe many of us could relate to. Like, I'm here in order to bring people close to Hashem. Okay, that we can understand, that we could hear, that we've heard from other people as well. It's the first part that's really, really out there. Meaning, ani mitzidi, but on my own behalf, I don't have anything to do with this. My experience here, me being here, has nothing to do with this world. I have nothing to do with this world. My whole inyan of being here is just to lekarev nefashot laHashem yitbarach. That's a pretty big statement, and especially when you could just imagine when he said a statement like this. He said it at an age that most of us would look at it and be like, "Oh, he's young. Yom echad hu yigdal hu yavin." Because how old was he when he probably said a statement like this, right? Max.
30-something.
Probably mid-30s, early 30s, right? Imagine today someone in the early 30s would come to you and say, "Yeah, I figured it out. Like, I have nothing to do with this world. I'm just here for you." Really, really. Honestly, how would we feel about a person that would talk like that, right? But the Rebbe said a lot of these statements where we're basically kind of like, Be'emet? Really? So let's unpack this based on a number of different teachings and sayings, and from the world of Rebbe Nachman's writings in Chayei Moharan, of Rebbe Nachman's biography, to understand what this statement actually means. So first we have a sefer called Meshivas Nefesh, which is such a restore my soul. It's such a beautiful sefer based on the teachings of Rebbe Nachman, where it says like this: Ve'ramaz lanu midvarav hakadoshim. He hinted to us from his holy words. Asher kol inyano sheba lezeh ha'olam, the whole inyan of him coming to this world, hu rak bishvil letaken kol hanefashot hanefulot, was just in order to fix all the fallen souls. V'chen kol yisurav shesaval ba'olam hazeh, and all the pain and agony that Rebbe Nachman went through in this world. V'gam kol hitgabrut ha'alama shene'elam oro hakadosh me'olam, ad sheyesh rabim shelo zachu lehenot me'oro hakadosh, hu rak bishvil zeh. As well as Rebbe Nachman, his existence being one that was very, very concealed while he was in this world. It was only because what he was doing in this world, the level he was operating on, was to lift up and fix nefashot nefulot. That means two different things. And this is what's very important. And this will also explain to us why he's buried in Uman. What does it mean when you say a nefesh neful, a broken down soul? Who are you speaking about? The living or the dead?
Sounds like the living.
Huh?
It sounds like the living.
I mean, let's be real. On the pshat level, it seems like, yes. The nebuch tzebrochen, nefashot, nefulot. Those that fell and that they need help to get back up. Nachon?
But Uman was dafka the dead.
So, well, that's why it was a trick question. Not a trick question when I asked you, meaning it was setting you up to obviously answer the both. Nefashot nefulot means, in the case of Rebbe Nachman, those neshamas that couldn't find a place in this world, or neshamas that felt so lost and so given up on by so many different worlds, homes, families, and institutions, which we still see that's very, very much the case with a large percentage of those that are drawn to the world of Rebbe Nachman. It's almost like the chaver that are al saf yeush, at the brink of despair. They find in Rebbe Nachman's words, they find the shepherd that comes and lifts them up from this place, from this pool, from this reservoir called Yeush. That's true till today. What's also true till today is the other part of this statement. souls, nefashot nefulot, nebuch, souls that lived, died, and are still awaiting a tikkun. Now this is opening up our learning to a whole nother dimension, which is good, which is okay, because we're going through the life of Rebbe Nachman and understanding how he came to such conclusions. Meaning, how does a person come to a conclusion of a statement like this? But bichlal, on a more like on the surface level, how does a person come to the realization of what it is they're supposed to be doing here in this world and know it with such conviction? If I went around the room right now and I asked anyone here, can you raise your hand if you know what it is you're here to that you were sent down to do in this world? Even if some of you did know, you'd never raise your hand. Why? Why wouldn't you raise your hands? Betach. Betach. Now, what if we set a premise in here that there is no gaiva in this room, there's just emes? Would any of you raise your hands? It's funny, even by saying yes, you're
This is a safe space.
This is a safe space. It's only us and the whole social media world. It's only us, no one else. Yeah, but no one can see who's raising their hands. Next week there'll be different cameras, but for now, it's just us in here, right? You can't see anything else. However, this is such a frightening thing to go into, to enter into, because you know what happens to you once you know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing in this world?
You will have to do it.
Then you got to do it. Then you got to do it.
And you're going to beat yourself up until you at least start.
Right, and it's very, very difficult. It's very, but it's also the most shlemisdika type of life as well. It's also very much shlim, very, brings a person to a place of inner peace, at least knowing that they've detected, and now the attempt begins to go weiter. I'll be the guinea pig in here, just in terms of vulnerability, and just share with you that Be'emet, I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. Now, I dafka choose myself because many people Be'emet look at me as someone that thinks that it seems like he knows what he's doing in this world. And I'm here to say, there's a lot of attempts of discovering, but I don't know for sure. I really don't. Of course, marriage, I'm not speaking about those things. That's dvarim hashavim l'chol nefesh. The basic things that each person has to do. This mitzvah is proof. We have Torah gives us an outline of, as an individual, what the lifestyle has to be like. But in terms of what was my soul sent here to do in this world, it's not clear. It's not clear. But the comforting thing is that the fact that it's not clear doesn't paralyze me, and that has to give everybody koach. It doesn't paralyze me. Meaning, there's attempts to do different good things that aren't maybe, boom, this yet, and that's okay. The tzaddik is a different story. The tzaddik, in Rebbe Nachman's world, they are in that zone of knowing what their souls were sent down for this world to do. How they know, when they figured this out, these are secrets. These are secrets. Yeah.
Does everybody have a big, unique mission, or could somebody's mission in this world really be to I don't know, have a particular baby, or it doesn't have to be this big picture thing?
Well, this is the thing, is that you use the word big and unique, right? Those were the words you said. But when you realize that that's your thing, that thing is, for you, big and unique. It may not be big and unique in the way that the world would label big and unique. Okay. That's the tricky thing here. So the answer to your question is yes, but to pay attention to the usage of the description that you used. And it's very good what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question.
Very good. Very, very good. Because
We were all hoping somebody would ask that. Thank you.
it's very good.
And it's only one thing? You could change also.
We'll see. Let's keep that open. But it's very good that you brought that up. I know Yael was waiting for you to say that, definitely.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
get another
hope you have
one.
many more.
I get another one.
That was a big one. Small, but big. Okay, so now let's go back to Rebbe Nachman's timeline. All right. Does anyone remember the age that Rebbe Nachman got married? 13. Yes. So now he's already an old man. The kasher malulo chai shanim. Then he's 18 years old. Ira ma she'ira. What happened had happened. Vehitparsema gdulato barabim. What happened had happened, and then he starts to be surrounded by pirsum, by fame, which we spoke about a few weeks ago, how that was agony for him. It was absolute agony for him that Rebbe Nachman starts to become famous. Now, just to put things into context, back then, fame meant, so 4 villages around you found out about you. Today's fame means 3,500 followers joined you today. And all that is such sheker anyway. It's because there's there's fame, it's shtuyot, you know. It's shtuyot. Someone was recently asking me, we were sitting with some strategist in terms of how to build growth of people finding out about the learning here. So the person said, I gave him a number, what would seem to me to be like mamish gewalt. And he said, are you crazy? Because I gave him apparently such a small number. He said, what are you talking about? I was like, what do you mean? People that I sit with, this strategist says, people that I sit with, they go for these numbers are like, literally what they look at others and like, well, if that person has like 180,000 people now that's with them, day to day. I said to him, let me ask you a question. And from the 180,000 that are now joining this person in his traveling of learning, how many can you really say from that number is mamish with him ba'esh uvamayim? Bemet, how many can you say? I don't know what the number is, but it's not 180,000, it's not 90,000, it's not 9,000, because it doesn't work like that. Only the Nasi of the Dor, like the Rebbe, has this ability, because that's Rosh B'nai Yisrael, draws within them the multitudes and the hundreds of thousands. Interestingly enough, I think I mentioned before that Rebbe Nachman and the Alter Rebbe met twice, and their meetings are quite clearly documented. And the one question that we know that Rebbe Nachman asked the Alter Rebbe was, is it true that you are Sarai Alafim, Sarai Meos? He asked him, is it true that what they're saying, that you are already the minister of thousands and thousands of Chassidim? Because that was a Chiddush back then in the time. That's what Rebbe Nachman wanted to understand. Is that number of flock, is that true? Not because he was comparing himself to the Alter Rebbe for 1 second. He didn't compare himself to anybody. It's a completely different type of neshama. So how many people really chapped Rebbe Nachman, even those that were around him? His pirsum became big, but how many really, really got what he was talking about? I don't know. And it's a game you have to play. It's a game. Like just I'm going to flip it back again just to give you more practical examples that we could relate to. So many times on Friday night, when there's 400 or 500 people up here, I always want to stop the davening in the middle and ask, who mamish wants to be here? And who mamish wants to be here tomorrow morning when it's not like this? But I don't, because there's reasons why I don't. But in my heart, there is this feeling of, if only 20 people would raise their hand, what a bracha it would be to know who you have. That would be amazing. Now, Rebbe Nachman has an inner circle of Talmidim, which began with Rebbe Shimon. That was the first Talmud that we spoke about, who began to become his Talmud the day of his wedding. Followed with Rabbi Naftali and a few others, until, of course, we know that, he met, Reb Nassan and him met, and then everything changed. So just to take this, Kasher Mal'ulo Chai Shanim, when he was 18, whatever happened. That means that it stopped being so concealed because he started giving Torah barabim, v'yitparsema gdulato barabim, and he became very famous. Uchshe'akar la'achar miken dirato, v'avar lagur ba'ayara Medvedevka, Only reason I could say this name very easily is because there was a star on Maccabi Tel Aviv, the basketball team, when I was like 15. This was his last name, Medvedevka, so that's why it comes like Shoshana. Where's Reb Pinchas of Koretz buried?
Shepetivka.
Yeah. Certain names, I still can't say it, right? Shepetivka. I got you on a good one. Because I knew that she knows it. That's why I said. So when he uprooted where he was living and then moved to a town called Medvedevka, התחילו כמה אנשים להתקרב אליו, ונלוו אליו אנשים רבים מיום אל יום. Crowds started coming in. Now, how many people really understood what was going on, we'll never know. But it definitely, in terms of curiosity, that is definitely a very, very big thing. You know, and a great example today would be Rav Meyer Morgenstern. I mean, I've spent some time there by Rav Meyer Morgenstern, who's becoming massive by the minute, bigger and bigger by the minute. A great tzaddik who lives in Yerushalayim, and it's fascinating to see the multitudes and the herds. When you sit with him you can barely understand what he's saying. He's speaking in codes. He's looking one eye to the sky, one eye into a paper. It's not like you'd connect to a normal person and feel understood and heard and seen, but we're dealing with a tzaddik, so it's a different ballgame. They're operating in a different realm. This is what was going on. People started traveling to him from surroundings. Until now, it wasn't just the neighboring village. Now, people would spend time traveling to go and see him. Anyone that merited becoming close to him, nitmala yirat Hashem. Now, it doesn't mean that they understood what he was saying. But one thing would happen by being in the presence of Rebbe Nachman. You would be filled with yirat Hashem, which is very important, because sometimes what happens is when you surround yourself by a certain tzaddik, you become nitmala mi yirat hatzadik. And then you have to touch it and connect it. No, that really means it's yirat Hashem. But Rebbe Nachman was very clear to us, when a person would leave Rebbe Nachman, he wouldn't then be fixated with this notion of, I got to be close to him. I have to be close to Hashem. That's how you know that how do you know you're listening to a nagan kasher, to a holy nagan kasher, a holy musician, is if after being in their presence, you're not trying to stalk them or connect to them necessarily or need them, it's that you want to go and run to the field and talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'aya meshiv rabim me'avon, he would return many from going on the wrong path. V'kirvan la'Hashem yitbarach b'yitkarvut gadol, and the closeness that he brought people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu was something very big. Now there's a lot to discuss with different examples of how these things would work and what it was like to be in the presence of Rebbe Nachman. And thank God we have some detailed accounts of certain things that took place in his public life and in his personal life. That's why this year we're trying, it's an isayon, I hope when we're done, I hope to offer this as a course to people that want to really get a bigger picture, a more encompassing picture of the tzaddik. So we're the guinea pigs, really, trying to understand if this is possible or not. So, in Chayei Moharan Kuf, yeah.
It's weird that he used nitmala yirat Hashem, because Rabbi Nachman is all about ahavat Hashem. There's plenty of yira going around.
I'm not so sure about that.
Because there was yira also being like reticence, like I'm never good enough kind of thing. And the ahava is, I messed up, but Hashem still loves me and I love Hashem. And it's just weird here, in my opinion.
I think you're reading too much into the words, because, Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem. Ahava, Yira's first. Ahavas Hashem is after, and we know, I think you're speaking it through the lens of, Chasidus versus Misnagdim. But that's not what was going on over here. What was happening over here was I think a Breslover would look at all the other Hasidim and be like, you're like Misnagdim, because it's not this. And they have a little bit of this shtickle, this Indian. It's okay. Chabadskers have a little bit of this as well. Like, it's like if you're not, but you should know by Breslov, they actually learn Tanya. They're supposed to learn Tanya. I never saw Tzivui in Lubavitch that you have to start learning Likutei Maharan, but you definitely learn, you do learn, it's part of it, but I think we're just getting caught up in words. והנה, בכל העניינים האלה יש הרבה מאוד לספר, כמה וכמה אלפים ורבבות מעשיות שעברו עליו באלו הימים והשנים שישב במקומות הנ"ל. Rebbe Nachman says, there are many different things that would happen to him. Well, he was in all these different places because he was traveling a lot. One thing I didn't put in here, because I just thought it would take up too much time, is that he had to keep on moving, especially after he was Meshadech. His mother-in-law died, and then he set up his father-in-law with a new wife. He was the Shadchan. And he was very happy that happened, but she didn't get along with Rebbe Nachman, and then he had to move out of the house that he was living in. And he kept on traveling. He spent different times, different places. I think the longest stint was probably Breslov, where he lived. I think it was the last 8 years of his life, besides the last 6 months, which were spent in Uman. But he was traveling a lot, and things would happen to him in different places. שאז, second line, היה עיקר יגיעתו וטרחתו בעבודתו יתברך ביגיעה גדולה מאוד. His own tircha, his own toiling was so massive. והיו לו מלחמות גדולות בכל יום ובכל שעה, קודם שהכניע ושיבר כל מידה ומידה, וכל תאווה ותאווה. And we wrote this, we learned this. Rebbe Nachman spent so much time trying to break certain midot that you and I could relate to. We just would never imagine in a million years that we could fix it. For instance, one of them, this is really far out, food. Do you know what he stopped doing at the age of 6? Chewing. He knew that he had to consume food, but he stopped chewing it because he felt that there was There's a lot of things he would do, which makes it very hard for us to understand how to relate to such a person. But his drive to break ta'avot was a very real one. What was one of... Fear of death was one. Remember, did we speak about that here, right? Fear of death was a big thing that he had to overcome. And other things about consistency. Just being consistent in learning, being consistent in davening was a very big thing that he spent a lot of time working on. You're going to say, what do you mean? It's Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. He's going to have a hard time with things. Yes. And in fact, those things that we saw that he spent a lot of time on trying to overcome, at least for us, I remember, made us feel that it's much more relatable to learn from such a tzaddik. Because if you tell me he came down from Shamayim and he's acting like an angel from birth, what could I really do with that type of Torah? Yeah.
And what does the first line mean?
Which one? Maybe.
He has taivas to work on and get over, then he does have stuff to do in the world.
But this statement was probably said after at an age where he realized maybe that wasn't even it. In fact, there are many things the Rebbe did that afterwards he said, not only should you not do them, I probably shouldn't have done them either. Like that one, what fasting was the big one where he would say, I don't know, I could have just done Hisbodedus and reached the same, even a higher level than fasting from Shabbos to Shabbos, and I'm nearly passing out.
You could say that he means that he's doing it all to see what works and what doesn't work, like for us.
Yechol Yot. Yeah. But the realization of I have nothing here to do in this world, mitzidi, could not have been said before he went through a lot of different things of trying to understand what it is he's here to do in this world. In the Moses farm, they say that this is all blah, blah, blah for them, right? But one of the things they would say is that a person, all they have to do in this world to consider it a hatzlacha dika gilgul, which means like a successful reincarnation, is to be Meshaber Taiva Achas, is to conquer one Taiva. And if you're able to fully conquer and transform one Taiva, Ashreichem Atov Chalkechem. Okay, so Reb Nachman is now continuing to describe his relationship. Umichamat, we're in the fourth line. Umichamat shelo zachiti litkarev elav, az rak beva'o lepo leBreslov. I only was privileged to get close to the tzaddik when he came here to Breslov. V'chol elu advarim shamati b'seirugim rubam mipiv hakadosh. Rebbe Nachman would allude certain things to me, but sporadically. V'ashar, the rest of the things that I'm sharing with you, mishar anashim she'ekiru oto, from other people that know him, as al ken, eini yachol lesaper hakol kaseder hara'ui. So therefore, Rebbe Nachman's apologizing. Sorry that it's not chronologically correct. V'ani mukhrach ledaleg harbe me'inyan le'inyan, and that's why in this sefer in Chayei Moharan, I'm jumping around from inyan to inyan, because literally, I wasn't there. And I'm trying to remember everything that I heard over the years. V'chol ma she'yaleh al zichroni, and whatever I do remember, lo emenam lisaper, I definitely will share. Ki gam mima sheshamati kvar nishkach harov. Because even though a lot of what I heard has already been forgotten. It's like it's so funny because he shares more than any other student has shared about their Rav, and he's speaking, he's saying, listen, and a lot that I already, I had heard has been forgotten. Yeah, I one time I attempted to start to do the following, but I never followed through, and I feel really bad about it. And I'm dafka mentioning it today because yesterday I think was Rav Weinberger's father's yahrzeit. And Tu B'Shvat? So what was so amazing about Rav Weinberger is that the way when he would mention his father when he was alive, you saw those stories had the biggest rishimu on him. The biggest rishimu on him. So when he was nifter, I started going through the tapes, but the tapes are 4,000 tapes. 4,000, I don't know what the number is, much because it's 3,900. And I would write down every memory that he shared about his father. And I started writing them down. Life got a little busy, and it didn't continue. But I could just imagine, because one time I shared with him one thing that he had forgotten, that I reminded him from him. And I saw the tears in his eyes. It was a Friday night. It was amazing. It was a Friday night at a Tish, and I saw that a few years ago, tears in his eyes. So when we remember something that has been lost, we only say Bakadosh Baruch Hu, Ki zocher kol hanishkachot ata yodea. Only Hashem remembers all those things that I lost and forgotten. Ve'irshom eze ma'asiyot ktanot sheshamati mipiv hakadosh zichrono livracha shesiper shebimei ne'urav be'et osko be'avodat Hashem bi'yigia gdola היה חפץ מאוד שהשם יתברך יהיה מראה לו מופת. Rebbe Nachman said, when he was busy working so hard on trying to be the best in the world, he said that he asked Hashem for a miracle. He would ask Hashem to see miracles. למען תתחזק אמונתו יותר, so that his emunah can become strengthened even more. והיה מעתיר ומפציר ומרבה בתפילות להשם יתברך על זה. And he would really dive into Hashem strongly to be able to witness miracles. וסיפר 3 מופתים שנעשו לו אז. And he shared 3 different things that happened to him when he was younger. מקום שהיה רגיל ללך בחוץ, I hope you're ready for this. This is, you thought it was trippy until now. This is really something else. מקום שהיה רגיל ללך בחוץ, אנה ואנה, ועסק בהתבודדות ודבקות להשם יתברך. There was a place he used to hang out at in the fields or somewhere outside, spending a lot of time doing his בודדוס. היה עומד באותו הדרך צלם גדול שלהם. You know what a tzelem is, right? A cross. There was a big cross that was standing right out there, specifically in the kfarim, in the villages. Every village had a massive cross that was right there. והיה מבלבל אותו מאוד, and it would confuse him tremendously, כי היו לו ייסורים על שהצלם עומד נגדו, בעת הילוכו בדבקות ובהתבודדות. He's walking down the street, or he's traveling in a field, or he's out there in the village, and who knows where, and he's mamish davening so hard to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and if he'd open his eyes, he would see this massive cross in front of him. התבלל שלשם יתברך שיעשה לו מופת זה שיהיה נעקר הצלם. He davened to Hashem, there'll be a miracle that this tzelem will be uprooted. ויגזור אומר, ויקום, ופתאום נעקר הצלם ונפל לארץ. And he says, Hashem, Yisbarach, you got to get this away. And he shared that at that moment, this cross, I don't know what it was, how it was nailed onto or whatever, but boom, it fell to the ground.
Cool.
That's one. השני, מעניין הדגים, fish, שהיה הולך לפני הנער, ורצה שיבואו לו דגים לידו בלי מצודה, ונתקיים כך. He wanted that fish should come to him without a metzuda, without a, like a, how do you say it? A net, without a fishing net, and just come and come close to, and that's how he would catch fish, like that. Interesting, his great-grandfather had an Indian with fish too, Remember, it's one of the reasons he wanted to settle in Medjugorje, because it's on the Bug River, and he always wanted to make sure he'd be in a place that there'd always be fish for Shabbos. Here, this is already taking it to the next level, that, you would always catch fish. No, maybe, not always. I don't know if it's always. That's just dramatizing it. He said he went once, and the fish would just conjure together, and that's what would happen. Now, Hashlishi. Now, this is what we're here to learn about today. Hashlishi. השלישי שכחתי, כי מדומה, שהיה מה שחפץ שיראה מת. He wanted to see a dead person. Now, that does not mean he wanted to dig up a grave and see a dead person. That'd be pretty wild, and usser as well. What is it that he wanted to see? הפציר להשם יתברך על זה. He davened to Hashem over this. ונתקיים כך שבא אליו פתאום מת אחד, והוא היה שוכב בחדרו בבית חותנו. He had a certain room in his in-laws' house, where that was his room of learning, of studying, of his bodhidus, and he was lying down there once, and suddenly walks in a dead person. ונפחד רבינו זיכרונו לברכה אז מאוד מאוד. And he starts tripping out. כי אז היה אצלו פעם הראשון שראה בעיניו את המת. כי זה היה בתחילת ימי נעוריו. He's a youngster here. He's a teenager when this is happening. That a dead person walks into the room. No one has questions?
Why?
Yeah.
How come everyone's just being like,
That makes sense.
right. How come no one has any questions?
So waiting for them.
You're waiting? Okay. It's funny because sometimes I think when people that may be listening to us and watching us, and they hear the shmooze like this, and they know there's people in the room, and they don't hear anyone say anything, they're probably thinking to themselves, these guys are crazy, huh? Or am I missing something?
Trying to figure out what's going on.
Suspense.
Yeah. וגם אמר אחר כך, so he said also, שאותו המת היה רשע. This mate that came and walked into the room was actually a rasha. על כן נפל עליו פחד גדול עצום מאוד בלי שיעור. He had a massive panic attack and freaked out because he also could tell that this mate, this dead person walked into the room was a big rasha, and he's davening to see a rasha, and he's davening to see a mate. Why is it that Hashem shows him a mate that's actually a rasha? והתחיל לצעוק מאוד בצעקה משונה מאוד. So he starts to howl. Rebbe Nachman starts to screech and scream, and it was a different type of scream. ובאו במרוצה אנשי הבית ורצו להיכנס לחדרו. So all people of the household hear this screaming. I think it was up in the attic, and they try to get into the room. ולא יכלו להיכנס, but they wouldn't be able to get in. מחמד של רבינו זכרונו לברכה סגר מתחילת החדר מבפנים. He was able to lock it from the inside. והוכרחו לעשות תחבולות להיכנס. They tried to make all these tricks and hacks how to get into the room. Eini zocher, Reb Nachman says, I don't remember im siper shesatru hakotel, if they tore down the wall, o shenichnesu milamala min hakotel, or they climbed over the wall to get in. Uba'u elav ve'achar kach nach mipachdo. They came to him and they calmed him down.
Did they see the hate?
They must have thought he was crazy. Seething.
I hope they knew.
Ve'amar,
They knew him already.
שאותו המת היה רשע, ובשביל זה נפחד כל כך, ואחר כך ראה כמה וכמה מתים, ולא נפחד עוד, מכל שכן בסוף ימיו. This would happen to him. Now, eventually he stopped being freaked out about this. Why? Why? Okay, now this is the reason that I'm sharing this with you. ולא נפחד עוד מכל שכן בסוף ימיו, שאז נעשה בעל השדה. Now these are the two words. You saw I put that in the beginning of the page as well, right? Baal HaSadeh. He was the master of the field. He realized that he was the master of the field. Baal HaSadeh. In Breslov they use this reference a lot, and it's a code word for a lot of like tikkun neshamas. And I'm just going to finish reading, then I'll explain. He became by then Baal HaSadeh, שאז באו אליו לאלפים ולרבבות בלי שיעור בשביל תיקון. Hundreds and thousands of endless amount of souls came to Rebbe Nachman for a tikkun, for their souls. כי בזה היה עוסק ביותר, this is what he was busy doing, לתקן נשמות המתים, to fix the souls of the dead, ונשמות ארטילאין שעדיין לא נכנסו בגוף כלל, and also souls that haven't even entered into the form of physical bodies, כמבואר במקום אחר. Now I'm בכוונה wanted to end with, something that makes absolutely no sense to us, right? But this is the premise.
And made more sense in the beginning.
What body? The souls that didn't enter into bodies?
No, the whole concept that he was like doing. He wanted to either like go into that business of tikkun nefashos.
So I don't think he wanted to go into the business. I think that he wanted to see a maze, and he freaked out so much because he didn't realize what he was really asking for. Because then they started showing up. Then he understood why Hashem put into him this ratzon to see a mace. Now, just a few things here. How come the household that broke into his house didn't freak out? They couldn't see it. That's Aleph. That's a very just on a pshat level. They didn't freak out because they didn't see it. Did Rebbe Nachman see a soul, or did he see a body walking around? I don't know. I don't know if it's even relevant. Lo yodea. He saw a soul. Like, put it like this: when Rebbe Nachman looked at you, did he see a body or a soul? Same thing. Same exact thing. So, live, dead, dvarim lo mishanim. But he figured out what he's supposed to be doing in this world. Ani, if you go back to the opening statement again, Ani en li ma la'asot b'zeh ha'olam klal. I have nothing to do here. I'm here to just do tikkunim. I am the master of the field. Now, this is based on Likutei Moharan. I forget if it's Samech Bet or Samech Vav. V'yomer Boaz el Rut. Fascinating, deep, complex teaching in Likutei Moharan that we're going to start to learn next time we're together to explain the function of Rebbe Nachman's leadership. It's in Chelik Aleph. Samech Bet or Samech Vav? V'yomer Boaz el Rut. I forget the exact name. From next time we meet, you have to have the sefer with you, and we'll see it inside. Whichever one it is, I'll show it. I'll let you know which one it is. Samech Hey, maybe. It should say on top.
Vayomer Boaz el Rut.
Which one? Samech Hey. Samech Hey. This is going to be out there. It'll explain to us how he functioned, what he saw himself as, and it'll also explain to us, which we'll get into more greater detail as we go through his biography, why he dafka chose to be buried in Uman. We'll understand it much clearer, much better. So, Bezrat, yeah.
I have a little bookmark here that says suffering. It's by Samache. I don't know. I
Oh.
just,
Yeah, he talks about that in the
okay. It just,
You'll see.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
yeah.
A deep one, and it's good for our learning to really sink our teeth into such a teaching. We'll do that next time we meet. There'll be shir on Sunday morning, but there won't be a shir the following Thursday. The Seder? Okay. Be careful what you ask for.